Hello, BookTube. Welcome back to the History Shelf. This is your host, Peg. First of all, let me just apologize for the crappy audio levels in the last two videos that I posted, making sure that I am overcompensating. In this video, I've got the microphone right up to my face. We should be good to go. Anyway, so much for trying a new location. The sound played back just fine for me, but everyone else could not hear me. And that sucked because it was a massive Hamilton book haul. But we do have one more, the ultimate Hamilton book haul coming very soon. But the purpose of today's video is a little adventure in secondhand book shopping. In fact, I had a person request that maybe highlight some of the used books of some history classics that I found, doing secondhand used book shopping. And I said that's a fantastic idea. And in fact, I had a used book haul or a used book, spotlight planned. So that's what we're going to do. I have about a baker's dozen books to show you that I've bought secondhand. Usually either used on thrift books. I like to use thrift books a lot. I've had fairly good service there. Well, really good service. And if something arrives not as described, they refund it. No questions asked. And again, you don't need to return the book. So anyway, let's get into it, shall we? Pardon me. Okay, got some good stuff here. I'm going to start off with Alexander Shultz. Now, some of this is, one of it is fiction, but to me it's very much history. This book didn't have the dust jacket, but I did not care because I want these in hardcover. It's his Red Wheel trilogy. Now they have a new edition out in paperback, but I really wanted big hardcover books for this. And this one is August 1914. It's put out by Farrar, Straus, and Giroux. Hopefully you can't hear that. That is the upstairs shower. Okay. So we have it right here. So it's a little, it's in good condition. It doesn't have a dust jacket. But yeah, I've been wanting to get his Red Wheel trilogy. So the next one is 1916, and I also ordered that secondhand. This one I think I bought off of Amazon used, but it might be coming from thrift books. So I'll have August 1914, November 1916, and then the last one I think it's July. Oh yes, July 1917. I'm pretty sure. So Red Wheel trilogy, and I got the first volume there. Another tiny little skinny book I bought. I pretty much want to have every book or any type of publication that Alexander Solzhenitsyn has put out. It's a very slim volume. It's called Rebuilding Russia. Of course, it's dated, but I don't care. It's Reflections and Tentative Proposals. And I found this on thrift books as well. So I picked it up. It's just not even 113 pages. So I've got those two. Those are the two books I picked up of Alexander Solzhenitsyn. I'm a big fan of A.N. Wilson's work. My favorite book of his is God's Funeral. I really want to reread that book. It was fantastic. He's written a ton of different biographies, studies on the Victorians, and all that. But this book actually goes along with another one I bought. So let me kind of group them together. Just for laughs, I wanted to call him the hilarious Catholic. I wanted to get some Hilaire Belloc, and I did. And this is his book on the Crusades. The World Debate is the little subtitle there. So it's put out by Tam Publishing. This is a used copy, and it's seen some water damage, but I mean it's kind of has that sound it makes when you open it. Got a little bit, but it's clean. It's clean. It doesn't smell. The pages are just a little bit kind of warped at the bottom, but I don't care. Um, so I wanted to get. I've been meaning to read some more of Hilaire Belloc, and so I was excited for this. I call him the hilarious Catholic because he just blames everything on the Reformation. You know, those damn Protestants. He's very, very strong-minded and contentious about that. So he was definitely a militant. I don't want to say militant Catholic, but you know, definitely defended the Catholic faith and the Church. And so I wanted to get his read on the Crusades. And then I was like, you know what? Let's see if there's a biography out there in Hilaire Belloc. And guess what? There is. And guess who wrote it? A.N. Wilson, baby. So I found a used copy of Hilaire Belloc, a biography by A.N. Wilson. It has a little tear on the cover, but I can easily just tape up the cover. This was put out by Athenaeum back in the day. As you can see, this is it's an older copy, probably from the 80s. Let's see here. 1984. So I was very tickled, and it's a great copy. I probably paid a little bit more for this, just because it's hard to find this book, and I did want it in hardcover. So I was very happy. So I have a work by Belloc and also the biography. Fantastic. What else have I come across in my adventures in secondhand book shopping? Well, I bought this a little bit ago. I haven't shown you guys yet. This is supposed to be a classic, and it is in a Penguin edition. And I wanted to have a nice history on Iraq. This is Ancient Iraq by Georges Roux. It says new edition, but as you can see, it's an older. It says newly revised and now in its third edition, Ancient Iraq covers the political, cultural, and socio-economic history of Mesopotamia from the days of prehistory to the Christian era and somewhat beyond. Dr. Roux describes for the general public and students the empires that have successively arisen and collapsed in Mesopotamia, as well as the institutions, religions, sciences, and daily life of its inhabitants. That so vast a subject makes such absorbing reading is due not only to the inevitable fascination of the past, but also to the light yet exact touch of a talented historian. That is a fantastic description. It is just a perfect copy. In fact, I think I might have gotten this one through... Where did I get this one? I don't even remember. I got it a little bit ago. I haven't shown you guys yet. It might have been used through Amazon, but it might have been from Hamilton Book. Ooh. Okay. Moving on. Oh, I have a couple of mysteries here that I wanted to show you. I'll save those to the end because these are mostly history and biography, like almost all of it. Okay, well, let's just get into it. So I purchased this book, and I think I showed this. I took some pictures of this and put it on Instagram when I got them. When I finished reading, while I was reading 1491 by Charles Mann, that was just mining the bibliography, and there was so much good stuff. And he had referenced this work in his book, 1493. Sorry. This was part of the buddy read with Lukash at A Cruel Reader's Thesis and Patrice Jones. We had read 1491 a couple years ago as a buddy read, and then we decided to do 1493, which was the year after Columbus's, discovery of America and just the changes. And I talked about that book in one of my last videos. And so this book, he references, and it looks fantastic, Mao's War Against Nature. Politics and the Environment in Revolutionary China by Judith Shapiro. So I was able to find a used copy. It's put out by Cambridge. Look at that. It says $3, but I probably paid around that, maybe a little bit more. Probably about $5 off thrift books, yeah. So I wanted to get this book. I won't go into the long-winded blurb, but 1493, in one of the chapters, talked about China and just about how the different crops that came there. Well, the economy. It talked about how China was using silver as its own form of like a commodity. So they were constantly trying to find things to export, and the thing is they were damaging the environment with how they were like terrace farming and things like this, and then the flooding, and apparently Mao took it Mao took it to a whole nother level, just really just jacked up the environment, and hence this book. And Charles Mann was referencing this, so I looked it up in the bibliography, and I said, well, this looks like something I could really, dangle my toes in for sure. I find it fascinating, and so I picked that one up. And then another book that was co-written by Judith Shapiro, and I'm always fascinated by like China and communism there, North Korea, the people who have survived revolutions and things like this. So this is Son of the Revolution by Ling Hang and Judith Shapiro. Again, I picked this up thrift books. This is what is the subtitle? Well, I know it's about someone who lived through Mao's revolution. It doesn't have the description here. Ah, darn it. Let's see. Yeah, I'm sorry. It doesn't have the blurb. It just has blurbs on the back. Oh, hang on a second. Sorry, Ling Hang is the guy. Okay, and Judith Shapiro helped him write it. Okay, so Ling Hang was born in 1954 in Changsha, a large city in central China. His parents were intellectuals. His father, a reporter on a major provincial newspaper. His mother, a ranking cadre in the local police. This is Ling Hang's own story of growing up in the turmoil of the Great Cultural Revolution. His story is unique, but at the same time it is in many ways typical of those millions of young Chinese who have been tested almost beyond endurance in recent years. In his words, we hear an entire generation speaking. So I wanted to get this. I've read several different books from like China, Korea, North Korea, people who have lived through some heinous stuff and some pretty, world upending events. And I'm just, I'm always fascinated by the human capacity to endure. Okay, and then I also showed this one on my Instagram channel. This is a work of fiction, but I have been wanting to read this for a long time, and I always loved this old cover of the book. And this is The Court-Martial of George Armstrong Custer, a novel by Douglas C. Jones. Look at this old-ass cover. I love it. I love this cover. Scribner's. Gosh, this is so old. This is just like an alternate history of like what would have happened if Custer had survived, if he hadn't been wiped out at the Little Bighorn. Let's see. Suppose that George Armstrong Custer did not die at the Battle of Little Bighorn. Suppose that instead he was found close to death at the scene of the defeat and was brought to trial for his actions. This masterful blend of fact and fiction recreates that trial. Not since the Caine Mutiny has a novel reached into the courtroom with such psychological insight and suspense. Oh, I just love this. His future in the hanging in the balance, Custer watches as the methodical prosecutor, Major Gardner, and Jacobson, the flamboyant lawyer for the defense, pit their skills in the tension-ridden courtroom. Witness by witness, the battle and all its horror is brought to life again. Personalities of the witnesses are laid bare. Major Reno, crumbling under accusations of drunken cowardice. Captain Benteen, proud, forced to acknowledge that he despises Custer. General Sheridan, his explosive temper barely under control as his feelings about Custer are probed too deeply. And through it all there is Libby, Custer's beautiful and enigmatic wife. Is she the only one who knows the whole truth? So, just a brilliant take on what could have been. And I love the fact that they the novel goes into, and it's wonderful illustrations. Look at this. I love this this is a version that came out, This was 1976. Fantastic. And there's little drawings throughout. There's the Prosecutor. What a fun book. I'm so happy I found this. And it didn't break the bank at all. Okay, so another book. This is Civil War related. I have been looking at and eyeballing for a long time. And there was only one left, and I had it in my cart for the longest time. And I thought, I better pull the trigger before someone takes it, and then I'll kick myself. But I've read several of this author's works. Stephen E. Woodworth, he's a great Civil War historian. And I don't have this in my library, and I've been meaning to. It's a bit of an oversight. This is Davis and Lee at War by Stephen E. Woodworth, originally put out by the Kansas University Press. So I loved his book, Jefferson Davis and His Generals, which was like a take on Lincoln and his generals. It was a fantastic study. But in this one, he really concludes his study of Jefferson Davis, and his relationship with his generals by taking a really, a longer study of just Davis and Lee, obviously. But, it's not easy to read sometimes because I really just, both these guys I'm just not big fans of at all. But one I really detest more than the other. And who is that? That's Davis. He was a difficult man. And a lot of the generals they had to work with, he was very, he had his favorites. And if you weren't his favorite, then he was a very petulant, petty man, I thought. Anyway, but Lee found a way to work with him. And of course, Davis just loved him. But I bought it because I love Woodworth's work. I read Jefferson Davis and His Generals, and I knew that this was going to conclude that study. Says here, Woodworth argues that Davis and Robert E. Lee, the South's greatest military leader, that's debatable, had sharply conflicting views over the proper conduct of the war. Davis was convinced that the South should fight a defensive war to simply outlast the North's political and popular support for the war. By contrast, Lee and the other Eastern generals, notably P.G.T. Beauregard, Gustavus Smith, and Stonewall Jackson, were eager for the offensive. They were convinced that only quick and decisive battlefield victories would prevent the North from eventually defeating them with its overwhelming advantage in men and materials. The result of this tense tug of war was Davis's misguided pursuit of a middle ground that gave neither strategy its best chance for success. Yes. Very true as well. Davis was not a very strategically minded person. Military affairs were not his forte. But anyway, it's another wonderfully detailed work by Woodworth. Of course, amply and noted. Bibliography is on point. Primary sources. It's everything you can want in a Civil War study. And this one, obviously bought it used, and it came in the Mylar cover. I was very happy about that. I think I might have shown this book already on this channel, but if I haven't, I'll just be showing it again because I'm not sure if I showed you guys this or not. I bought this used, I think, from the Midtown Book Scholar. And I love that used bookstore. I think it's in, let's say Kansas. I don't know, but whenever I see their listing, like if I'm looking for a book that on Amazon or something like that, and I'm looking at the used, like new copies or used very good copies, and whenever I see Midtown Bookstore, Midtown Bookstore, I immediately add it to my cart. They are fantastic. They take such good care of their books, and they do not lie to you about the condition. I love them, and I love supporting them. I even signed up for their news alerts, even though I can't, I'm not in the same state. I'd like to know what's going on at that bookstore. Anyway, beautiful copy. It came wrapped up in bubble wrap and everything else. This is Explorers of the Nile, The Triumph and Tragedy of a Great Victorian Adventure by Tim Giel. Look at that. Beautiful Yale book. This is basically like new, and I think I might have paid $8 for it or something. This came out in 2011. So the thrilling story of the competition to uncover the planet's most elusive secret. A mystery unsolved for thousands of years. It had confounded the ancient Greeks and baffled the most eminent minds of the Victorian age. In 1856, the final search began to solve one of the great geographical unknowns of the age, the source of the White Nile. 6 men and 1 woman, some of the greatest explorers who ever lived, risked their lives and their reputations in the name of this quest. Showing exceptional courage and extraordinary resilience, Richard Burton and John Hanning Speke, Florence and Samuel Baker, James Grant, David Livingstone, and Henry Morton Stanley journeyed through East and Central Africa into unmapped territory. They discovered the Great Lakes Tanganyika and Victoria, navigated the Upper Nile and the Congo, and suffered the ravages of flesh-eating ulcers, malaria, and deep spear wounds. Some would resort to sheer ruthlessness and double-crossing for the fame and glory that beckoned. Not all would return. So it just sounds like a rip-roaring type of read. I've always been interested in the exploration of the African Nile, the hinterland there, and this is just a beautiful book. It's got that nice gold typeset there. Anyway, so I picked that one up, and this one is interesting. I was listening to a podcast. I'm going to tout a podcast for you guys. It's called The Rest is History. You can find it on Apple, iTunes, whatever. And it's hosted by the historian Tom Holland, who's written a lot about ancient Rome. This most recent book was on Dominion, how the Christian Revolution remade the world, and Dominic Sandbrook. And every week or so they do a new topic, and gosh, it's binge-worthy. These guys are fantastic, and they're always name-dropping different historians, different works that they've read. They, I think, are worthwhile. And I think Dominic Sandbrook had mentioned Nick Spencer, and I was like, well, who's Nick Spencer? Let's take a look at his oeuvre. And I found this book. I was intrigued, and I think Dominic Sandbrook had mentioned this, so I'm interested in taking a look at this. It's a little volume, but I found it on Thrift Books, and this is The Evolution of the West, How Christianity Has Shaped Our Values. And there's a bunch of... Whoa, there's the upstairs water again. Anyway, so I bought this basically from the... just a reference from the podcast, The Rest is History, so check it out. If there's a way that I can link it below, so you can just check out and see what kind of episodes they talk about, I'll do that below. Okay, this book was inspired by Andrew B., another booktuber. He's doing a long series, studies of socialism in America. He did a whole series on Robert Owen, but he referenced this book, and I was, I'm curious, and I jumped on the bandwagon, and I wanted to see if I could find a copy, and I did. This is Quest for the New Moral World, Robert Owen and the Owenites in Britain and America, by John F.C. Harrison. Now, this is an old, I paid a little bit more than that, I think, but it's a good copy. I love just shopping, digging into the bowels, as it were, of these different bargain sites, and just authors whose works have not been republished, and you just have to find the old stuff. So this is going to be interesting. I'd like to take a dabble into this myself and see what jumps out at me. Wow, it's just amply illustrated with these old lithographs and stuff. Beautiful. Oh my goodness. Well, this is a photograph, so. So yeah, another wonderful find that was used, considered a classic. A lot of these are just classic works of history, and so you can find them. A lot of the times people are like, why don't you go to the library and get them? Well, you know why? Because they don't carry this stuff. They don't. I have a library that is, it works as both the Westminster Public Library, and it's called College Hill Library because it's part of the Front Range Community College. It's right there, so it's like a joint library, right? 2 floors. The reason why I have so many books is that I read a lot of stuff that's really arcane or hard to find. So I have to buy them because, the many times that I've like, Peg, just see if they have it at the library. Well, Peg goes online. Yes, I'm talking in third person. Peg goes online. Peg types in these books. There's like nothing found. They don't know where the hell it is. So I'm like, okay, then I'm going to go and find a used copy. And this is why my library runs to like probably 2,500, 3,000 books. That's why. So good stuff right there. All right, 2 more books and then a couple of mysteries. So I got into The Crown again not too long ago, maybe a couple months ago, and I got really interested in King George VI, Edward VIII. I reviewed a book on Edward VIII, the abdication crisis, the Crown in crisis. And I didn't realize there were other brothers between with Albert and Edward. There were other brothers, other princes. And this was a book that came out not too recently, and I really wanted to check this out. This is Princes at War, The Bitter Battle Inside Britain's Royal Family in the Darkest Days of World War II by Deborah Cadbury. I found a nice used copy. There you go, Thrift Books. This is not too old of a book. I think this came out 2015. Anyway, this covers, says here in 1936, the British monarchy faced the greatest threats to its survival in the modern era, the crisis of abdication and the menace of Nazism. The fate of the country rested in the hands of George V's sorely unequipped sons, so this sounds really entertaining. A stammering King George VI, terrified that the world might discover he was unfit to rule. A dull-witted Prince Henry, who wanted only a quiet life in the army. The too glamorous Prince George, the Duke of Kent, a reformed hedonist who found new purpose in the RAF and would become the first royal to die in a mysterious plane crash. And, of course, the Duke of Windsor, formerly King Edward VIII, deemed a Nazi sympathizer and traitor to his own country, a man who had given it all up for love. So this is a portrait of these 4 very different men, and I love stuff like this. I just love it. And I love, like, these family studies. It just goes to remind you, even if you're way high up there in royalty or government or whatever, in the echelons, the high halls of, power, you still have siblings, and you can still be a screw-up. So, Princes at War by Deborah Cadbury. All right, and then this book I saw on Johnny Keene's channel a little while ago, and I had never heard of it, and it seems like something I should have known about. Nice hardcover. I was able to find it, I think on Thrift Books, and it's The Barbarian Conversion, From Paganism to Christianity by Richard Fletcher. So thank you, Johnny Keene, for that reference. It just basically the title says it all, but, so I haven't read this by Richard Fletcher. Oh, I just found a ripped page. Oh, you bastard. What? I'll tape it up. Not a big deal. I'm not sending it back. Look at that. Look, an animal got to that thing. Holy crap. Well, the rest of it looks great. I'll just tape that page up. Yeah. Yeah, it's just, I'm not going to read and we're at almost 30 minutes. I think I'm doing well for 15, 16 books. Oh, and finally, so I got a couple of fiction here. I've been pining for my Elizabeth Peters Amelia Peabody series, and I realize I want to try to. I have a mishmash of different editions by her. I have the old mass market paperback ones. I don't like the new ones that are like the tall, narrow books. I hate those. And I wanted something with more character, and so I'm about 8 books into the series. And I have this book in paperback, but I wanted it in the... Hi, Boomer! I wanted it in the hardcover edition. And this is the Hippopotamus Pool. It came nicely shrink-wrapped. It's beautiful. So I picked that up, and then I picked up the book that's right after that, also used and in hardcover. So the one right after Hippopotamus Pool is Seeing a Large Cat. An Amelia Peabody mystery. I think Boomer might have gotten a bath. Yes. So yes. So and I want to. I think so. The rest of the series I'm going to try to also find as well. Either hardcover or the paperback editions that I really like, which were the ones printed in the 80s. So that's my used. That's my recent adventure in used book buying. I do have a few more coming in. I bought 3 books by Christopher Andrews, and I'm really excited about in hardcover. They're chunksters. A couple of them are on the KGB files and inside the KGB, and one of them is about the secret history of intelligence or secret intelligence. Anyway, it's supposed to be like basically a one-stop shop for everything you want to know about espionage. So once those arrive, I will show those as well. But for now, this is my massive, not too massive, but it's a nice variety. Let me know what you guys think, and let me know how the sound was in this video. And I'm really sorry for the last time. But until next time, BookTube, hope you're having a great day, and we'll talk soon. Ciao. Bye.